George Best, in brilliant form, scores a hat-trick on the big match today.
Charlie George, who can hit him. Oh, and we go! Charlie George!
Yes, welcome again to the big match. And George Best, in fact, burst into the programme a little later on. And if he was turning it on at Old Trafford yesterday, then it's also fair to say that we had some really magnificent football at White Hart Lane. And that's where our main match comes from today. Spurs against Crystal Palace.
Spurs are going to find it difficult. There's Chivers putting it across. Muller's got in! And he's putting it against the crossbar! Headed away.
Backed up by Manchester United against West Ham.
And a beautiful cross, Dennis Law! And away by Moore!
And Swindon against Fulham.
Oh, and a chance for Noble!
So an hour of great football coming your way, and in those 3 games, no fewer than 13 goals. Right, let's get straight on with the football as we go to White Hart Lane for Spurs against Crystal Palace. I can never remember the Spurs pitch looking quite so good. And a little point, if you've just laid 100 or so turfs on your lawn this summer, Spurs in fact put down 26,000 on this pitch, with some better drainage to go with it too. As for the 2 teams for today's game, Spurs, first of all, led by their skipper, Alan Mullery, and they're at full strength today. This is because Ralph Coates and Alan Gilzean have recovered from knocks they received in that winning European match in Iceland on Wednesday. It's a team that's lost only once this season, that 4-0 thrashing at Manchester City. And in 4 meetings with Crystal Palace, they've never lost. In fact, they've never so much as conceded a goal. So Crystal Palace, bottom of the table, know well enough what they face today. Steve Kember leads the side with Alan Birchnell and Bobby Tambling restored to it, Jerry Queen as well. But they've not had a win since the opening day of the season, and the odds are that they will come and defend. But 2 players on the field whose job will be to attack are Spurs' £200,000 star Ralph Coates, now beginning to get into the swing of things, and 19-year-old Ross Jenkins of Crystal Palace. This is only his 2nd game in the first team. Referee today, David Smith of Gloucester.
So Crystal Palace get us away in this game at White Hart Lane, defending the goal to our right. Palace in yellow shirts with blue shorts, Spurs in their customary white with black shorts. And I suppose if you're watching on black and white receivers, there is a similarity. Let me just point out for you that Crystal Palace are the team wearing with the black ring to their shirts around the neck and arms, and also the black ring at the top of their stockings. Now here's Alan Birchnell back in the side after 3 games, but a poor pass, and it's Martin Chivers for Spurs. Kinnear, Chivers, Kinnear again, and Coates. Wall watching him very closely, and Gilzean, a certain amount of inconclusive play there in the Crystal Palace defence. But now Kinnear, Gilzean, and Mel Blythe, in fact, who shot into his own goal in this corresponding match last season. I'm sure he must have had that on his mind at that particular moment, but he got out of trouble well. A foul that time by Blythe on Chivers, but the referee in fact has... Well, the ball is in the net, but the whistle had gone. The whistle had gone. The linesman had his flag up, and the referee whistled. The linesman put his flag down, and I suppose Chivers saw that without hearing the whistle and went on. Really smacked it past Jackson, but long after the whistle had gone for this free kick. And that's how it is from behind Jackson's goal, almost a central position, some 25 yards out. Played by Peters there for Knowles to bang one and well wide. Two skippers, Steve Kember and Alan Mullery. Here's Stevie Kember, who was in fact married earlier this month. Chivers, Perryman. Chivers again, prepared to take on all comers. Onto that left foot. Oh my goodness, just across that goal. What a tremendous break by Chivers. David Payne. Peters, harassed by Payne, but very neatly found Gilzean. Gilzean bundled unfairly off the ball by Hoadley. And the referee not happy with a little piece of gamesmanship there by Hoadley. And the book, is it coming out? It looks as though the book is out. And Hoadley's name goes into the book. Presumably that goes throwing the ball down as showing dissent, and for showing dissent Phil Hoadley has a name taken. So a free kick now to Spurs, to be taken by a bloodied Cyril Knowles. Gilzean taking a bit of a buffeting there. Peters! Oh my goodness, just over that Crystal Palace crossbar with a really tremendous shot by Peters. That'll fall for Knowles. Nicely controlled, neatly to Perryman, and now to Beale. Knowles. Chivers. And Coates winning a good tackle there. Shrugging off one from Hoadley. Still Ralph Coates. But in the end, space ran out on him. But it's Spurs' throw, and the first long throw of the match we've got from Martin Chivers. Gilzean at the near post as ever. And nodding it on. Peters now jockeying for a position there. And Mullery to blast it but well wide. That wasn't at all a bad chance for Alan Mullery. And another example again of how those long throws from Chivers so often cause so much havoc in a defence. Birchinall, Wall, stopped by Beale. Kinnear. And Beale again. Good play by Philip Beale. And Perryman to take it up now for Spurs. The referee prepared to let that one go on with Spurs in possession. Played for Gilzean. Perryman again. The penalty area absolutely packed now with Crystal Palace players, and Spurs are going to find it difficult. There's Chivers putting it across. Mullery's got in, and he's put it against the crossbar, and it's finally put behind by Mel Blythe, who is down and injured. Mullery's header there against that Crystal Palace crossbar, and they knew nothing about that one. Blythe looking as though he's happy to go on now. Mullery with the corner. And Chivers jumping but not quite reaching it. England to turn it back again for Tottenham. And Peters to nod it in, and this time Jackson to gather it. The whistle in fact goes for half-time. A really defensive battle by Crystal Palace, trying to keep out men like Martin Chivers, who was so desperately close for Spurs on one occasion. But the half-time arrives with no goals, but still to come for you on the big match this afternoon. We have highlights of Manchester United against West Ham, Swindon against Fulham, and the half-time score here at White Hart Lane. Tottenham Hotspurs 0, Crystal Palace 0. We shall be back with you in a couple of minutes. So Spurs then get us away at the start of the second half. No score. Spurs, who've won, in fact, 4 of their last 5 games and drawn the other one. Although might, at the moment, be a little push to break down a very stubborn Crystal Palace defence this afternoon. No trouble pulling down Kinnear then, and a free kick to Spurs. Palace, of course, who haven't won since the very first day of the season in the league when they beat Newcastle. In fact, have lost all their 4 away games. There's Kinnear with a free kick. Peters getting ahead to that one, but no power behind it. Hoadley and Payne losing it to Peters. Blythe in very quickly, just as quickly in was Perryman, now Mullery. Flicked with the outside of his boot, very nicely there for Ralph Coates. Knowles going up, and Coates seemed to know that he would be there. Coates across that goal. Coates again. Peters with his head. And Knowles with time enough to turn it back again. Coates. Peters staying right in there. And a goal kick at last to Crystal Palace. Martin Peters. And the Spurs management wisely deciding to fence off that area behind that goal from where they had a bit of trouble when Newcastle were here earlier this season. Jenkins. Linesman again flagging on this side, but of course the final decision is always with the referee, and if the linesman sees anything, he's got a flag. And now Perryman. Peters. Oh, it goes in. Down he goes, and that surely has got to be a penalty, and it is a penalty. That was a very good piece of refereeing. In fact, Mr. Smith delaying that decision until he saw whether the ball finished up in the net, because he felt that it was a penalty offence when Gilzean was brought down, and then when it went wide, gave the penalty. Well, now that's going to put pressure on John Jackson. And it's going to be Martin Peters who takes it. Steve Kember, in fact, getting a talking to from the referee at the moment. But now it becomes a battle between Martin Peters placing that ball and John Jackson in the Crystal Palace goal. Here he comes, and there it is. Absolutely no mistake about it. The perfect penalty from Martin Peters, and it puts Spurs into the lead. Beautifully placed there, side-footed by Martin Peters. And so the score, Spurs 1, Crystal Palace 0, 5 minutes of the second half gone. Jenkins, but straight into the arms of Jennings. A penalty that no doubt will now open the game up a little bit, because it's no good Palace drawing men back now. They've got to come back and see what they can do about equalising. Now it's Coates. Chivers. Oh, played nicely wide of McCormick there by Chivers. And away goes Coates on a beautiful run across the goal, and tumbling at the very last ditch to get it away for Crystal Palace. Magnificent play by Tottenham, though, in the first place by Chivers, carried on superbly by Ralph Coates. Chivers now with a long throw, and a much better start to the second half. And what a long throw it is again. England's gone right up there, but it's glanced off his head, and Birchinall to get it away. I think also that's something like 4 penalties that Crystal Palace have had against them this season. Beale to Knowles. Finding Coates. It's been very tensed up indeed, Ralph Coates, in the few weeks he's had here at Tottenham. But that little run a moment ago will show Spurs fans what he can do. England still not out of trouble, though the linesman is flagging furiously. Birchinall there, and my goodness, that was a bad back pass there that almost let Birchinall in for Crystal Palace. Well, Mike, England would have been a bit sore about that one, particularly with the linesman who was flagging hard at this side. But it's hard to see what he was flagging for, but he'd obviously seen something and the referee disregarded it. And so very nearly then the equaliser for Crystal Palace. Blythe to Hoadley. Jenkins out-jumped by Mike England. Perryman, Peters. Gilzean, and now the game with a bit of feeling about it. Mallory to Gilzean. Mallory again. And Wall again strongly in. And I noticed there behind, you can see Bert Head behind there shouting to his men, the Crystal Palace manager, and indicating also that he wanted more men, I think, to go forward. Gilzean. Perryman. And Payne winning that one. Blythe. Perryman steaming back to challenge him, but Blythe finding Queen. Kemba going on and forgetting the ball. Perryman now, one to test the strength and the pace of Chivers. Facing McCormick, still Chivers. And a beautiful ball there to Kinnear. Mallory in close support. Here's Mallory. Chivers again coming away from that defence. Still Martin Chivers. And a goal kick. Two strong men in that Spurs defence, Beale and England. Blythe. Very sturdy challenge there by Mallory on Wall. And Mallory to take the throw now for Tottenham Hotspur. Gilzean. Played delicately wide of Kemba there for Perryman. Beale. Gilzean. Going to look for Chivers, turning that nicely into the path of Perryman, but over that Crystal Palace crossbar, but opening up that Palace defence beautifully for Perryman. So Jackson with the kick. England. Beale. Kemba. Queen. Kemba again. And Birchinall over on the left. Turned down a very interesting looking one there as Queen went in for it. And Jenkins too. If anything, they might slightly have got in each other's way. But a very good-looking cross indeed from Birchinall. That's going to go for a throw to Crystal Palace. Ross Jenkins, 19-year-old Londoner, in fact had a very useful first appearance last week against Manchester United. Really hasn't had too many chances today. Linesman flagging, the throw not taken from the correct position. And so Peter Wall to try again. McCormick to Birchinall, nicely inside for McCormick. Perryman to cut it out, Coates. Oh, and Blythe and McCormick knocking each other's out, and Chivers to tuck it away for the second one. Well, that really was a chapter of accidents in that Crystal Palace defence, with Blythe and McCormick knocking each other out. There they are, and the ball running loose for Martin Chivers to stretch out a toe and poke it past John Jackson. Now Hoadley, and that leaves Crystal Palace, who really haven't had an attack worthy of the name as yet, with a tremendous amount to do. Palace, in fact, who've never, in fact, scored a goal against Spurs in 2 seasons in the First Division, 4 games. But now here's Tamlin going through, stopped almost at the last there, but Birchinall. And Beale, again a clumsy clearance, but again finding Ralph Coates. And Coates, well, in fact, he got the beating of Hoadley there, but then played it safe to Jennings. Gilzean, a lovely flick on there for Chivers. Kinnear. Gilzean. Chivers again. And now Peters. Muller has gone forward. Chivers again. Knowles. Oh, brought down by Mel Blythe. And again, certainly you could argue that a fortnight ago, that sort of challenge would have brought a booking, but again we get the situation where things have levelled off to the point that a stiff word from the referee and a free kick for Spurs suffices. Mike England, in fact, stayed back for this one, but it's Knowles to take it. Gilzean, and Peters almost terminated again. Gilzean! And it goes behind. Linesman on the far side indicating that somebody handled it. And it's going to be a free kick to Crystal Palace, in fact. Beale. Jenkins to look for Queen. And still Jenkins again. Now can Jenkins do something with that one across there? And my goodness, that called for a quick reaction from Pat Jennings. That was a good little break by Ross Jenkins. He made just enough room for himself to get that shot in. Gilzean prepared to let that one go. It's Spurs' ball. And that's a Chivers long throw. England's gone up for it. What a massive throw that is without any real effort at all. And Blythe put it away for Perryman. Gilzean. Perryman! Oh, and my goodness, that cannoned off Mel Blythe. When it looked very much as though that was on the way for number 3. Oh, my goodness, Kemba caught that right in the face from Knowles. And they were both going for it with their feet. And honestly, that must have been 6 of one, half dozen of the other, but Mr. Smith has got his book out. And Knowles, I would think, will get his name in the book for that. But I'm sure if we looked at that, we would see that Kemba, in fact, also had his foot very high indeed. And in fact, Kemba is going there to have a word with referee David Smith. Well, I would think that's a little unfortunate for Cyril Knowles. And I suppose you could also say a little unfortunate for Steve Kemba to get it in the face like that too. And Queen versus Jennings right out of his area. Playing the part of the fullback. And now dashing back to play the part of a goalkeeper. Phil Hoadley. Tambling. Beale. Gilzean. Perryman's gone off on a run. And that's the one for Perryman. Chivers calling for it and getting it. Now Chivers probably prepared to take on everybody. No, for Perryman. Oh, and it's stopped by Jackson. A good save. Mullery to follow it in. Chivers there, just over. But a beautiful move again by Tottenham. Perryman. Beginning to assert a lot of influence in the middle of the field now, Perryman with Mullery. Gilzean. Coates the worker. To Mullery the skipper, and now Kinnear. Turning again, Gilzean just getting a foot to it. Chivers to nod it down for Perryman. Gilzine. Flick through there, and will it go? No, it won't. Perryman again, playing with Crystal Palace, and Mallory to really hammer that one. They toyed with Crystal Palace once, twice and again, and then out it came to Mallory. A fine goal for Tottenham and their third. And when Mallory hits them, they really stay hit. And nobody could testify to that more than John Jackson. So Palace, after a good defensive first half, looked to be in ruins. Hurdley, stopped by Mallory. In tremendous goal-scoring form, Mallory. Those two in Iceland and one now. England. And Coates. Kemba will always fight, will always look for something. He found nothing there, though. But now Gilzine for Tottenham. Happy, no doubt, to stay in the shade of the stand on that far side on this baking afternoon. A little flick to Mallory. And Spurs beginning to turn it on. Knowles. Gilzine on the far side this time. Perryman! My goodness, there, that burst against a Palace defender who knew nothing about it. Perryman, who scored in this game last season and has twice been desperately close this afternoon. Jenkins, a little flick for Queen. And again Jenkins, that long leg of his, and he couldn't get past the long legs of England. And now Coates. Spurs to take it up again. Joe Kinnear. Peters. Perryman. Kinnear again, Mallory. Cyril Knowles onto that right foot. My goodness, that wasn't far away. And the Palace substitute is on. Bobby Tambling has gone off, which brings them John Laughlin on, a defender. Beale a long one forward. Coates to look for it. Trying to nod it back for Gilzine, but McCormick, another Scot, looks as though he might get the better of this one. Linesman flagging, referee whistling, and a free kick to Palace. Coates. Played nicely for Chivers. Leading Blythe. And my goodness, again, Jackson needed to get down very quickly to get a hand to that one. Kemba to Queen. Hoadley. Looking for Jenkins, and now he's found Kemba. Kemba shot. Very close now to the end of the game. Gilzine. A flick there for Coates. In the shadow of the stand, but still at walking pace on this baking afternoon. Back to Kinnear. And another cross, Gilzine to go for it. And the punching, though, of Jackson to get it away for Crystal Palace. Kemba now to Laughlin. Hoadley. And there's the final whistle. And on the evidence of the second half, comfortable and a well-deserved win by Spurs. Martin Peters, who got him on the way with that penalty. Martin Chivers, who added the second one. And Alan Mallory, who added a really extravagant third one after they'd really toyed with the Crystal Palace defence. So then a comfortable victory in the end for Spurs, and a final scoreline that reads Spurs 3, Crystal Palace 0.
So Spurs, as a result of that win, are now 6th in the First Division. Crystal Palace, alas, with only 3 points, they are at rock bottom. Still to come for you to enjoy in the big match today, that George Best hat-trick as Manchester United meet West Ham, and also 4 more goals in Swindon against Fulham. But now let's go to Jimmy Hill, get his views on yesterday's game at White Hart Lane.
Well, in fact, Crystal Palace defended very bravely until that penalty was given against them. But then it was one-way traffic, and there was no doubt that Spurs were going to win. It could have been 8 or it could have been 10. But the second goal, the one that did go in the net, was remarkable because it enabled Ralph Coates to make a telling contribution, one he'd been wanting to make since he got there, to Spurs' scoreline. It was a remarkable incident to start with. You can see Blythe there chasing the ball. McCormick heads it. Those two players are on the same side, but they appear to be having some kind of personal argument then. It's Coates who picks up the ball. Maybe a suspicion of handball there, but it's a beautifully weighted ball through to Chivers, and with his pace, that's all that was needed. Ball in the back of the net, another goal for Martin Chivers, laid on by Ralph Coates. But it was the third goal, the one that Alan Mullery scored, that may well be a contender for our Golden Goals competition later in the season. There's a lovely flick from Gilzean. Perryman's stolen in there, tries to score first time, but he can't, and Chivers nods it back for somebody to run in and hit. Perryman's off the floor again, lays it on for Mullery. This is in slow motion. Look at the power. Tremendous, powerful shot to finish off that move by Mullery, and that was when Spurs were at their most confident. But I went down there yesterday to try and give you a picture of how Ralph Coates was playing, but I couldn't. I started to write down things about Alan Gilzean, the old stager, who refuses to lie down and provided the most entertaining moments for me of yesterday's game. This was right at the start. Watch the way he lays this ball into the space for Knowles to steam up the line, take it up there, and then cross it. His pace, when he plays it off his foot or whether he plays it from his head, is quite remarkable. He leaves the ball, as he does here with a back header, into the space for Mullery to pick it up. He's seen that moments before the crowd. And he's got all the skills and showing lots of determination. I think he's liking the way the referees are reflecting the laws at the moment. As he picks this ball up here, there's a chest trap, little flick up in the air, and all the venom in the world there in that shot, but it was blocked. But it gave Martin Peters the chance to have that shot. And finally, the completely confident Gilzean on the touchline gives an example of Scottish skills to enjoy. A beautiful back heel there, nonchalantly played, the confident Gilzean. So much for his performance yesterday. There was one moment which Brian talked about before where Knowles had his name taken through that foot-up incident with Kemba. Rather interesting because I think you'll see now that Knowles went for the ball and in fact played the ball. Kemba was fractionally lower, but he didn't get the ball. And I suppose you could say either of them could have got injured, there's Knowles playing the ball, or either of them could have had their name taken. But as it happened, one might really reflect that Knowles was a bit unlucky to end up with his name in the book. Anyway, it was an entertaining game in the sunshine. I looked at the Spurs team and I thought to myself, well, there's nothing about them really that doesn't suggest to me that they've got a very good chance of winning the First Division. I looked at Palace and I thought I'd like to see something that suggests they've got a chance of staying in the First Division.
Yes, indeed. As Jimmy said, the sunshine at White Hart Lane yesterday and certainly the football to go with it. We have some more action for you now, and for that we go into the Second Division. And it's, of course, the continuing struggle of poor old Fulham. Yesterday they went down to Swindon to face Dave Mackay's boy. The pictures there come from ATV. The commentator is Hugh Johns, and Fulham are in white.
Rogers has Thomas to aim for here down the line. And a corner. There's Barrett, number 11, went back with Thomas. His job, of course. If the fullback attacks, the winger's got to go back with him. There they are. Don Rogers to take the corner. They've sent Haaland up into the 6-yard box. Haaland got the touch, and Noble gets the goal. Well, that wasn't a bad little effort. And a tremendous excitement for Peter Noble's first goal of the season. 1-0 Swindon. Let's have a look how that was scored. And notice the beautiful use they made of Stan Haaland. The little flick backwards which sold the Fulham defence, and Noble nodding firmly into the net. Jones, Trollope, Noble, Haaland. Good calling by Jones then. Oh, here's a terrible mistake. There's a goal. And it's given to Don Rogers. the second goal then. Don Rogers scoring in his 350th game for the club. His second goal of the season. Swindon's second of the game. They're winning 2-0 now. Looking back on that incident again, the terrible error that was forced on the Fulham defenders by the running of Porter. Chris Jones, I beg your pardon.
More trouble for Fulham in the second half.
Rogers, little neat touch on and a great cheer from the crowd. They do it every time he heads a ball, because it isn't all that often. Stan Horn given a difficult time then by Rogers. Joe Butler. That's a good throw. Jones just got to keep going. Oh, what a great goal! Oh, what a beautiful goal for Chris Jones. So Swindon go mad here this afternoon. After having gone so long without a goal, they've whacked in 3, their highest score of the season. 3-0 Swindon. Stan Harland. Oh, what a terrible mistake by Lloyd. Porter trying a whack, which winds up with Rogers. Now it's Jones. And a corner off Matheson. Matheson having to give away an awful lot of corner kicks as the Swindon pressure keeps mounting on him. Good servant to this club, formerly with Sheffield United for about 10 seasons. And having to do a lot of graft this afternoon. Rogers then with the corner. Harland trying. Rather lucky punch by Webster. Joe Butler! Oh, yes, indeed. So Joe Butler scores number 4. 4-0 for Swindon. Webster beaten a mile.
Great to see that old warrior, Dave Mackay, is still obviously enjoying his football, which, as I suppose, more than you can say at the moment for Fulham. Bottom now of the second division. Not so good for London, really. Crystal Palace bottom of the first, Fulham bottom of the second. But now stand by for George Best, and what a marvellous week it's been for him. He got reprieved by the FA Commission on Monday, and with an enormous relief showed his pleasure against West Ham yesterday at Old Trafford. A pity for West Ham that they had to come and face-to-face with a man in this form. But here we go now. Man United against West Ham. Pictures from Granada. Commentator Gerald Sinstadt. And Manchester United in the darker shirts.
Charlton beaten, done in 2 minds. Clyde Best, good header, well caught by Stepney. Billy Bonds under this. James for Manchester United. Charlton. Bobby Charlton, a gift from his former England skipper. And a good ball from Gowling for Willie Morgan. He's got O'Neill going outside him and 3 men inside. One is Law, playing it for Best. Best has made room for his left foot. George Best, these days, without a defender standing right on his heels, looking really the player we've always known him to be, but so rarely had the chance to see him be. A player given a yard of room who can be so deadly. That was a tremendous shot and a good save from Bobby Ferguson. Charlton waiting for the streamers to subside, and now he'll be able to take his corner. Sadler is up there at the near post. Good back header. Appealing for offside, the corner hit to the near post. Sadler runs out to meet it, gets in a good back header, and Best or Sadler could have put it in. Best it was who scored, his 7th of the season. Was he offside? West Ham thought so. Mr. Kirkpatrick was never in doubt. 1-0 to Manchester United. Redknapp. Real setback for West Ham. We've done all the attacking. Bonds. Sadler putting it away after James didn't get a header that was really positive. Dowell, Charlton, George Best. Good ball. Good was run outside him. And the switch back inside. Good header by Gowling. Law trying the overhead and not making contact. Manchester United improvising all along the line there. Good header from Hurst to Clyde Best. Robson, Jeff Hurst. Brooking. Clyde Best on his right and onside. Really not quite sure what Best was intending there, and I'm not sure that he was himself. Seemed in two minds about whether it was a cross or a shot. Well, midway through this first half, and it really is turning into quite some game. Morgan. Willie Morgan's cross for Dennis Law's head, not finding it. Dowell cleared. This is Redknapp. Moore and McDowell. Bonds. Taylor. West Ham caught fiddling, but making something of it now. Robson. Moore. And across to Lampard. One for James. O'Neill. Kidd. Beautiful ball from Kidd to Best. O'Neill, who intelligently kept going and plays a good cross. Taylor's cleared. George Best losing it from Brooking. No foul. Redknapp. Robson. Lampard. Bobby Moore. Billy Bonds wanting one wide out on Moore's right. That's McDowell going ahead of him. McDowell in the move now. Again for Clyde Best, head, and it's found it! So the two Bests live up to their advance booking. One goal at each end, Best and then Best. That time made from a good bit of work by Bonds. Bonds then playing it out to McDowell, and McDowell measuring his cross right onto the head of the tall Best, and so it's 1-1. Play restarts with a throw-in by Bonds. Foul throw, one-handed. Has to throw the ball firmly with both hands. Gowling. Fine play by Gowling. That long stride again. Morgan. Law through the middle. Gowling in the move once again. Kidd. Bobby Moore for West Ham to Hurst. Intercepted by Bobby Charlton. One for Law to jump for. It was too high for him. He's now chasing Lampard out and made Lampard concede the corner. Typical bit of Law initiative. Sadler again has gone up. This is the situation which made the Manchester United goal. Well, I don't think we can expect them to work the same move. Tommy Taylor's header. George Best! This incredible ability that George Best has to turn. When the corner came over, it was Tommy Taylor's head that was underneath it. When it came down, Dennis Law seemed to get a forehead to it, but it was George Best pivoting on one foot and hitting the ball with the other, who slammed it in to make it 2-1 with 2.5 minutes to go to half-time. George Best's 8th goal of the season.
But he saved probably his best goal for the second half.
Dennis Law was at the near post. Bobby Moore scoops the ball up. Done out to Charlton. Gone after it himself. Now gives it to Charlton. And a good pass it was too. Oh, this looks lovely. Charlton nearly made it. And Bobby Charlton sets off on one of those runs with the ball coming down on his left foot. There's always thunder in the air. Well, if West Ham did the attacking in the first half, the second half, Manchester United have really been pulling out the stops. George Best swinging it in, palmed down and cleared by Brooking, but that was a dangerous clearance by Ferguson. George Best in again, touched off his toe by Robson. Redknapp to bring some relief to West Ham. Moore to McDowell. Bonds. Good ball to Brooking. Brooking has made a space and he scored! All Brooking's own goal. He was given a good pass, but there was still a lot of work to do then, and it was that body swerve and then the switch to the left that made the opening, and his left foot that gave Stepney no chance. 2-2 the score. Trevor Brooking's first goal of the season. Kidd. Header again by Taylor. Bobby Charlton scrambling for the ball there, and Billy Bonds penalised. Just possible Charlton might hit this one. No, he plays it for Law. Best was on the move, but McDowell intercepted. Redknapp held it too long. Law, Bobby Charlton. Now Dennis Law was standing there in an offside position, but I think we shall see that the ball was played back to him by a West Ham defender. He slotted it back to Bobby Charlton, and Charlton, no mistake, 3-2, Manchester United lead. Bobby Moore under this, gives it to Bobby Charlton, and that's where Charlton likes to shoot from, and he's got it! No, it's just past. Touched away by Ferguson. I thought it had gone into the net. Ferguson signalling that he didn't touch it. Kirkpatrick has given the corner and it's been taken. George Best sold 2 dummies and now has made a chance for himself. His hat-trick! George Best tempting Bobby Moore in and playing it out to Morgan. Morgan to Law to Best. Best's cross for Kidd, headed away by Taylor, but Charlton coming in. Lovely dummy and a beautiful cross. Dennis Law and away by Moore. Dennis Law frustrated at the last second by Bobby Moore. What a great game this has been. George Best to take it. The Kidd! Kirkpatrick won't have it. Ryan Kidd riding in on the backs of those defenders and maybe pushing as he came.
Well, who can say anything's wrong with football when you see a game as good as that? George Best, absolutely magnificent. And after the game, Gerald Sinsett asked him about the meeting of the two Bests.
I think so, yeah. They talked about it before the game. Clyde's a good player and he's a nice person. We had a few losses with him in Bermuda a couple of years ago, and I was looking forward to it, actually.
You certainly seem to have found a good deal of new freedom this season. Has, in fact, the change in the referees' attitudes made a lot of difference?
Oh, it's been great. It's great for attacking football, and especially forwards. You've got a lot more time to think and create space for yourself, and it makes it easier for the forwards.
In fact, you didn't have a great deal of space, particularly with that second goal today, the one you hit on the turn.
Yeah, it's one of these things. You just see the ball, and it's a half chance, and you just whack it and keep your fingers crossed. Luckily, it went in.
And the third one? What about that?
Well, I can't remember much about it. I just kept running until I saw space and hit it.
I must say the crowd did you proud, didn't they?
Yeah, I think they were a bit pleased, yeah. Not as pleased as I was.
Well, now, you've got 9 already, and here we are only halfway through September. Do you see a target for this season?
Well, I'd like to beat the most I've scored in a season, I think, was 28, so I'd like to beat that by as many as possible.
And who can doubt that on George's present form that he's going to do it? Well, that's it. Hope you've enjoyed the programme today. Remember to join us for On the Ball next Saturday lunchtime in World of Sport. And, of course, for the big match, action-packed as ever, next Sunday afternoon. Well, we've had 13 goals on the programme today, 3 of them from Georgie Best, but none better, I think, than the one by Alan Mullery for Spurs against Crystal Palace, already earmarked, of course, by Jimmy Hill for our Golden Goals competition later this season.
Gilsey. Flick through there. And will it go? No, it won't. Perryman again, playing with Crystal Palace, and Mullery to really hammer that one.